Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to be here today. And it is my personal pleasure to be moderating this panel alongside these amazing folks who have a lot of experience with automation and how we can manage to put people at the center of that as AI is taking up more and more space. So without any further ado, I would like to start with the first question, which is addressed to everyone. Please think, so just walk with me, okay? It's 2035 and we've successfully automated everything. What does the world look like? What have we done to keep people at the center of our processes?
All right. I guess you're looking at the optimistic outlook, not the post-apocalyptic dystopia. Well, obviously, as you go around your day, do your job, you have a lot of stuff that you'd rather not do. And I guess going back to the present, we can all wonder, what would I happily delegate to some robot from the 2035 future? And that's pretty interesting. And then at the end of the day, you eliminate this and that, I don't know, marketing, programming, design, what do you have left? And I guess you can look at this from multiple perspectives. If you look like an individual that got replaced or got as the hype says, supercharged by AI, you're probably left with stuff that you're doing for the sake of doing it. For example, in programming, there is a lot of news about agents writing code, but me as a programmer and everybody I know, that's the one part of their job they actually love, writing code. So take that away from them, what do they still have left? I guess it's finding those bits that are worth doing for the love of doing it, and then finding those aspects which are your manifestation upon the world, like a craftsman or like an artist or like a creator, which is a matter of taste, of opinion, of expression of self. So these are things that remain after you automate everything. But this is at the individual level. If you look at the societal level, I don't know, it's going to be pretty weird. I have no idea, because you're going to have a lot of what today consists of the knowledge worker, the white-collar worker, that is going completely away. And we know from the Industrial Revolution that as technological progress came, it was not necessarily for the benefit of the workers. So yeah, we can all wonder what's going to happen with the generations of graduates that cannot find a job because the job they prepared for doesn't exist anymore. So that's a weird question. And last thing, I think we're probably gonna see a transfer of attention to more the physical world. I mean, a hairstylist is not gonna be replaced by an agent anytime soon. We have, just looking at the stuff around us, like the microphones and the clothes, okay, you can automate a lot of demand forecasting, marketing, design, but the fabric and the materials and the factories and the supply chain is still going to be in the physical world. And I think there's a ton to innovate there, which again will have the same ethical and societal dilemma. What do you have left when you have a dark factory with nobody working in it? Yeah, that's my answer.
First, let's make it to 2035, because he also noticed I'm one of the guys that is a bit of a doomer. I think that...
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I think that maybe by the end of this decade, maybe 2029, something like that, I predicted a few years ago, a bit more years ago, that we might even have some kind of AGI by then. So things that we think now that are still doable by humans better than AI might not be true in 5 years, yeah? But apart from that, let's say I imagine workplaces will still exist, 2035. Companies will still sell to people and so on. It's just probably we're not going to have data entry. Probably we're not going to have maybe a lot of middle management because it's the reporting and delegating and doing a lot of graphs and even agency. I would also imagine some of the AI, some of the agents, some of the robots will be somehow independent by then, and you don't necessarily have to always give it tasks or tactical things to do. You might even have direct strategies that you would let it develop in its own way. On the other hand, of course, lots of the jobs that are here now are not going to exist, or maybe not in the same shape. I expect new ones to emerge. And I expect also that maybe some of the people will work things that sound more like a hobby now, let's say. Of course, this is complicated with what you do with money, what you do with redistribution of wealth and so on, and value. But apart from that, if we're lucky, because I said I'm a doomer, so if we're lucky and doesn't take over by 2035, I think, let's also talk about IT, because also this conference is a lot focused on that. Are we going to have programmers? Probably, yeah, but very few. Are we going to have big companies, maybe like now, with 100,000 of people? I would say no. You might have very few specialized people and a lot of agents working. And so, sure, programming maybe still exists. Other jobs in the tech world, maybe not all of them. But we will have probably new types of jobs, like things related to ethics, like what should we teach AIs to do? What do we want them to be limited to? Or in which cases do we give more independence or less independence to agents and so on? I think people will also work more in maybe things about environment or things about designing customized experiences for people, or things will work maybe in psychology, helping work together with AI. But a small part, I wanted to say something about what Catalin said, that students will have to adapt to not finding the work they are studying for, right? That's one part. On the other hand, some of the students will demand that the workplaces are automated because that's how they grew up. Some of them grew up with lots of technology, so they wouldn't want to go to an old-style workplace where everything is manual and you have to do a lot of clerical work and log what you do, So they prefer to do maybe the interesting part of the job and let AI do the rest. So they might even not prefer to go to workplaces which are not automated and go to the ones that are highly automated.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. So very quickly, I will say like this. You can look into this question, let's say, by looking at the past of our race. What is, let's say, the most common things we did in the last million years is fight and love. Basically, we fight since we are, let's say, the initial primates, and we are doing that in different scenarios. And we'll continue to fight to have some kind of clashes in our work. You'll say, my agent is better than your agent. Let's discuss about agents. Let's see what prompts is better. Let's evaluate. Let's do this kind of metrics and so on and so on and so. So for sure, there will be a lot of space for fighting because each of us will have something like the intelligence of 20 to 200, let's say, humans in our coordination. That's the general idea of AI. Now we have one intelligence and let's say the motoric effort of 200 people. We'll have also the intelligence effort of 200 people. And what we'll do for sure, we'll fight between each and between us. We'll do that in politics, we'll do that in business, we'll do that in NGOs, we'll do that, so for sure we'll do that in the next 10 years or so. The second things we do as a species, we love each other. We love, we have strong relations, we are friends, we are discussing things, we are creating things. So because we have these new tools, we'll be able to afford more time to love our friends, our wives, our husbands, our partners, our children, our parents, because we have more time. So for sure, I think that, let's say, the future of work, it's a lot into this kind of areas of showing compassion. For sure, we'll be able to have smaller classes when we can afford to let's say, to project more education into our children, because we have more technology, and also, let's say, in this area where the humans are better than machines, will be able to do that. For example, probably in therapy, or probably in discussing, let's say, philosophy, or some other things where you need the human input. We'll do this kind of let's say, procedures. On the other side, you can answer the question by looking at what we are doing now, let's say, the most advanced user of technology at this moment. Because if you know, William Gibson, the SF writer, wrote, the future is here, but is not equally distributed. So what we are doing now in this area, in 10 years from now, you will have it in the entire community of humans. And for example, I asked myself what I did today with technology, and I'm a bit jet-lagged, so at 4 o'clock I waked up, and I coded a bit. I have this, let's say, pet project of taking Starea Impostorilor of Valeriu Nicolae, or the whole setup of, I'm good friends with Valeriu, so I can do that. It's not copyright infringement. I took something like 100 episodes, so around 200 hours of Starea Impostorilor, and coded it to transcribe them into text, and then to create some summaries and so on. So I'm working now like a virtual Valeriu Nicolae, where you can ask things about corrupt politicians, and he answered it. And probably I'll do that in a few days from now. I couldn't do that in, let's say, in something like 2 or 3 days by doing manually. So probably it would have been just an idea, but nobody would do it, because it's rather expensive to, let's say, to work something like 20 to 40 days on this kind of project. It doesn't make sense economically to have it as a pet project. So what we'll be able to do, we will be able to do a lot of, let's say, pet project focused on hobbies, as my colleague said, or focused on general good, and on things good for the society. So we'll become the next generation of, let's say, makers for public good. From my point of view, some of us. That's the optimist view. On the other hand, of course, there are a lot of, let's say challenges about the precariat, about the poverty, about the fact it's very complicated to say something like 20 million drivers, or how many drivers are in the entire world, will decide to do pet projects for common good and be good at therapy. So it will be very complicated for 100 million, let's say, ladies that are taking care of our buildings and men to do that. To change them into, I don't know, specialists in design. And now I'm turning back to let's say, the question, okay, but can't we automate everything to say, I want this project of creating the Valeriu Nicolae interactive, and then you should go to sleep? No, because what happens is you can automate, let's say, the part of getting the data, but the part of designing the product, of understanding how it works, right, it's a bit more complicated, because it's something very subjective. It's trial and error. You do that and discover you don't like it, and then you need some human feedback. So the third thing after, let's say, fight, love, it's feedback. Feedback, it's very subjective, and it's complicated to automate it. Especially in this kind of, let's say, projects where you need some higher view of the subject. It's like the public policies. You can't automate the public policies. You can say we can automate, I don't know, the traffic in Bucharest, but we should decide how much traffic we need or we can accept. So some questions are let's say, related to values, not necessarily related to efficiency.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now we're going to do an exercise where we're going to try to answer the questions within like 2 minutes so we can have time to have as much of a conversation as possible. My next question is for you, Bogdan, and it's how do we redefine the concept of value to fit the way that we're going to exist within this new kind of economy, both when it comes to evaluating success, what does value look like there, and to justifying human labor?
That's not a 2-minute question. Well, okay, let's constrain it to a typical economical cycle where you create a product, you sell it, people buy it, and there's a margin, and then everybody wins. Looking at software, for example, you have bits of the value chain that you can automate, bits of the value chain that you cannot, and then some bits that you can opt to automate or opt not to automate. For example, deciding what is the problem you're going to solve, what is the problem space, who are your customers. This usually comes down to some obsession of the founder, and you can really automate. Or if it's more like an analytical type of portfolio strategy, constantly, monitoring what's going on in the market and finding some vacuum that you want to fill with your product. This kind of mechanical product market fit can, I guess, also be very easily automated, like, creating endless products on Amazon. But this is, they recently, on Amazon self-publishing, they constrained, you cannot publish more than 100 books a day per one author, because people started to spam Amazon books with AI-generated crap. So I think the more you automate, the more you kind of get this mediocre cacophony where you cannot really distinguish between value and noise. So again, deciding what to do and why, while it could be automated, somehow determination and stubbornness and obsession and vision that comes from an imperfect human will probably, hopefully, make a difference out there in the market. And then within the value chain, now prototyping is almost free. You don't have to think about mock-ups, then explain, create a proof of concept, MVP. Now you can kind of pitch your ideas with fully functional products. And those are, you have an instant feedback cycle, first with yourself. Oh, this is what I want. No, not really. Okay, this is perfect. And then you can communicate with engineers, with stakeholders, with customers on a prototype. That's cheap. But that means you're going to have a flood of ideas. Like you have 1 million ideas and you can, and you can, flood with idea. And then they're easy to execute. So I guess, again, what Catalin said, the curator, what do you cut, what do you keep, is going to be really where we can add value and also select value.
Thank you so much. My next question is for Catalin. For those of you who don't know, Catalin also founded Gigs for Democracy, which makes him a hero in this room. And so
my colleagues who, let's say, continued Gigs for Democracy in the pandemic, after I became MP, were the heroes. I just started it. I, let's say, growth it for something like 3 years. But they took over in 2020 and did a lot of helping the Romanian society in the pandemic.
You have a lot of experience with this type of civic work, and my question is, how do we keep, because the foundation of democracy lies on shared agency and informed consent, and so how do we keep those, and how do we keep self-determination in a new world full of AI?
I have a question that, let's say, I speak from my history. You see this T-shirt, I get it from Audrey Tang. Audrey Tang is a very, let's say, well-known hacker in the Perl community, a hero. And in 2015, I think, was one of the, let's say, the most civic-oriented person in Taiwan when they had the Sunflower Revolution. It was like our OG-13 revolution, but higher and with some more results. And Audrey Tang was, let's say, was a person who organized, let's say, the digital efforts, and then she became the digital minister of digital affairs, the digital affairs minister in Taiwan. She was the first person having this kind of post in Taiwan and in most of the societies. And I visited her in 2022, I think, or 23. And basically we hacked together for 2 hours or 3 hours in the ministry. And her chief of staff was like, what these guys are doing, because they know how to program. So very shortly. She speaks a lot about plurality. Plurality, it's about creating a society where let's say, everybody is involved, but has his or her own view about the society. What we should do now and what we have now as technology allows to take into consideration a lot of different viewpoints. It is very important to grow these viewpoints because, for example, you have 2 societies. In Romania, in the communists, you have just one type of bread. Franzele, it costs something like 2 lei or 3 leis, and everybody recognize it. In France, if you are going to Paris or to some very small village, you'll see something like 1 to 100 boulangeries, where you can buy something like 5 to 100 types of bread. What society is better? Is better the society when you have just one point of view, or is better the society when you have something like 100 of offers? So what we should look now in this, let's say, this new type of society is to increase plurality. And we can do that. We have the technologies to increase plurality. Because if you, what you are doing in you as Atlassian, you are doing exactly this situation. You are creating, of course, it's very complicated to have plurality in business because that lowers the barriers. And also somehow, as you know, competition is for weeks, they say. Monopolies are the best. If you are a monopolist company, you make a lot of profits. Plurality, on the other side, let's say, create a lot of diversity. So it's a balance, but as a society, it's better to have plurality than to have monopoly. If you have monopoly, you have Russia or China or North Korea.
Thank you so
If you have plurality, you have Taiwan or...
Thank you so much for your answer.
South Korea.
For my last question, apparently, it's going to be this way. So we speak of intelligent automation, but my question is if automation can also be wise, and if so, please tell me, how do we do it?
So you're talking here about the nuance between intelligent, like very smart in taking decisions, processing data, and wise is a bit more human style with some experience, some context awareness.
How do we embed who we are into what we create? And you only have 2 minutes, by the way.
How do we embed into what?
How do we embed who we are as people and our, collective best interest into the automations that we create?
Well, I think it will evolve. The research in this space is never stopping, and there's a lot of focus on that. So I think it will have new capabilities, and it will be more and more like human in a lot of regards. Fortunately, we hope to keep it safe, but this is a very important topic. I don't expect we will keep it safe, but if we do, I think we will do a lot of the things that people do, but I would prefer if we keep some of the areas out of the agency of AI. like for example, things that are related to human dignity, to ethics, to even politics, war. These kind of things I think are better decided by people because we understand a bit more contextually societies, humans, cultural differences, cultural subtleties, and we think better as a group. We have more, as he said, plurality. Of course, AI would have one opinion, one AI. Another AI maybe has another opinion. Who's right? We don't know. So,
Thank you so much. And because we still have 1 minute, I'm going to ask a last question to all of you, and I'm going to ask you to answer in a sentence. The question is, if there could be, so again, come with me, right? Say you're creating a whole new organization today. It does whatever you want it to do, but it has automation in it. What do you do from day one to keep people at the center of your organization? And remember, one sentence only.
actually, I see more possible that we will have a AI founder or a AI CEO rather than human-centric place.
I can't wait for that.
I would say spend most of the time speaking to the people you affect, customers, communities, whatever, stakeholders of your product. Just dialogue.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
That's my question to dialogue. Basically, because it's very easy to create things now, the most important thing is to decide what we want to create and how it should work. So dialogue is the solution.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If there is, first of all, thank you so much for attending this, for coming here today, and for joining us in this conversation. And if there's anyone who has any sort of questions, I think we can take one.
So it's Anna from Open. I was wondering if you consider a skill or a future skill having a reference from before the AI. So we're all talking about AI, we're all talking about automating things, but isn't it a skill for the future having a reference from before the AI?
So the question is semantic. If we are using the proper word skill,
no, so you were talking you were at the beginning of the talk, you were talking about how agents will fight. We will fight about who has the better agent. But what about, you know, the upcoming jobs that will be created by the AI and the upcoming generations that won't have the same reference as we had before the AI? My personal opinion is that we will need people who have this experience from behind, where yeah, like from before the smartphones, you know, there are people who still
very, very short. I think I said fight, but maybe the right word is drive. Maybe in, let's say, in a set of human, you have some with a lot of drive and some with very low drive. And what will let's say differentiate between those in a AI-driven society will be the drives. So that's my answer on this one.
In a way, you're trying to say that later we should keep the old people around because if there's a blackout, they can still do something and hunt or, you know, no?
Veterans, that's what you call veterans.
They can still start a fire. The people like that saw the times before the AI, they can still start a fire and cook some rabbit and change a bulb and, no? Can still vacuum by hand. Like, that's what you mean? Something like that? Yeah, but this is, I mean, this will be available until, I don't know, depends how much we live.
Forever.
You think?
If age will come, it will be forever. That's the general theory.
Yeah,
that's the look and feel.
I'm a pessimist here too. I think I think the three of us are the last generation to still die. Maybe my niece, which is 15, maybe she will stay. She will live forever.
Thank you so much, and thank you
Yeah,
everyone
Livia,
in this
thanks.
panel, and thank you, Alex, so much.